Emperor Pixis gloated as his armada of 10,000 starships entered the Sol system, confident the primitive inhabitants of Earth would soon grovel at his feet. But the human warrior Derek had a message for the alien tyrant. Earth is off limits. Derek broke into a cold sweat as his recon ship's sensors lit up with contacts. 10,000 ships, maybe more, jumping into the system all around him. The enormous alien fleet spread out in attack formation, bearing down on humanity's homeworld. Dread filled Derek's gut. Earth's defenses were no match for a fleet that size, especially one so advanced. He had to warn the planet, but he already knew the terrible truth. Warning them wouldn't matter. Earth didn't stand a chance. People of Earth, your planet now belongs to the Barzan Empire, boomed the voice of Emperor Pixis across all frequencies. Surrender immediately or face annihilation. Derek watched in despair as Earth's puny defense platforms opened fire on the approaching ships to no effect. Alien energy beams sliced the platforms apart effortlessly. But then Derek noticed something. As the Barzan ships fired, their shields flickered. A weakness, a vulnerability. If Earth had the right weapons, they could exploit it, pierce those shields. But they didn't have those weapons. Not yet. Derek fired off an emergency data burst toward Earth Command with his findings. A moment later, alarms blared through his ship. The aliens had intercepted his transmission. Tracers arced toward him. Unidentified human vessel, you are in possession of sensitive military information, Pixis growled over the comm. Surrender or be destroyed. Derek slammed his engines to full, racing back toward Earth. Alien shots hammered his hull, systems overloading one by one. With seconds to spare, he dove into an escape pod. The pod rocketed away as his recon ship vanished in a blinding fireball behind him. The pod slammed down in an empty field. Derek pried the hatch open and crawled out. He had to get to the military leadership. Tell them about the Barzan weakness. It was humanity's only hope. Because if they couldn't find a way to exploit it, every man, woman, and child on Earth would soon be dead or enslaved. The fate of the entire world now rested on Derek's shoulders as he raced toward the nearest base, desperate to give humanity a fighting chance against the alien arbiter of their destruction. Weeks after Derek's desperate warning, Earth's militaries mobilized like never before. Old rivalries and disputes fell away as every nation united against the common alien threat. A new global defense initiative formed, with Derek appointed as a key strategist, his unique knowledge of Barzan technology proving invaluable. Under Derek's guidance, teams of Earth's brightest scientists and engineers worked around the clock, reverse engineering the salvaged wreckage from the battle. Breakthroughs came rapidly, unlocking the secrets of advanced Barzan shields, weapons, and propulsion. Factories roared to life, churning out fleets of next-generation warships overflowing with the new tech. Earth's moon transformed into a heavily fortified forward operating base, a filled hemisphere of powerful defenses against another invasion. Derek personally oversaw the lunar fortifications, as well as the deployment of an extensive network of early warning sensors throughout the solar system. Humanity would not be caught off guard again. Late one night, while poring over Barzan technical schematics, an alert blinked on Derek's personal communicator. An encrypted signal, source unknown, beamed from deep in Barzan space. Wary of a trap, but knowing he had to pursue any lead, Derek routed the message through a battery of decryption protocols and firewalls. What he discovered made his breath catch. "I am Ghost, leader of the Spectre Rebellion," the message read. "We represent the many species subjugated by the Barzan Empire, all eager to throw off the shackles of oppression. For too long, the Barzans have crushed countless civilizations, but your brave stand has shown us that they are not invincible. Ally with us, and together we can topple this tyrannical regime once and for all." Derek leaned back, mind racing with the implications. An alliance with rebel factions could be the tipping point Earth needed to survive the Barzan onslaught. Access to their knowledge of Barzan tactics, technology, and territory could prove invaluable. He had to meet this ghost, size them up in person. It took some arm twisting, but Derek convinced Earth's leadership to greenlight a covert mission. Armed with an experimental stealth ship outfitted with reverse-engineered Barzan FTL technology, Derek set out alone towards the rendezvous coordinates Ghost provided. The moment he dropped out of FTL in the remote star system, proximity alarms screamed. A Barzan patrol squadron, 3 heavy cruisers, bore down on his position, weapons hot. They'd been waiting for him. Gritting his teeth, Derek gunned the stealth ship's enhanced thrusters, narrowly dodging the first salvo of hypersonic projectiles. Derek juked and wove, the small ship's agility letting him dance between shots, but he couldn't evade forever. Alarms wailed as the barrage hammered his shields. In a daring gambit, he inverted the polarity of his shields and rammed the lead cruiser, the inverted energy field interacting catastrophically with the larger ship's defenses. The cruiser crumpled like tin foil, but the backlash overloaded Derek's own systems. Shields failed, thrusters sputtered, hull integrity warnings blared. With the last of his weaponry, Derek crossfired beams into the cruiser's vulnerable flank maneuvering thrusters, sending them careening drunkenly. But his victory was short-lived, as one of their wild shots speared his ship's reactor. Emergency klaxon screamed. He had seconds before the core breached. Yanking the ejection lever, Derek shot free in an escape pod moments before his ship dissolved into an expanding sphere of plasma. The pod's stealth systems engaged automatically, but Derek knew it was only a matter of time before Barzan sensors reacquired him. Bracing for impact, Derek aimed the pod towards the nearest celestial body, a desolate moon. The crash flung him hard against the restraints, his skull cracking the control panel, but he was alive. After prying the crumpled hatch open, he stumbled out onto the barren plain, suit sensors showing breathable air permeated with high CO2 levels. A mile-wide crater yawned in the distance, glinting metal visible within. A ship. Derek raised his sidearm as a figure approached from the vessel. A disturbingly human silhouette. But as it emerged from the shadows, Derek gasped. It was no human, but a towering reptilian being, bipedal with scaly green skin and elongated claws. "Derek Murphy of Earth," it said, voice a sibilant hiss. "I am Ghost. Welcome to the Spectre Rebellion." Ghost led Derek into the depths of his ship, the battered hulk filled with modified tech from dozens of cultures, like an interstellar junkyard welded into a warship. Inside, a motley assortment of aliens awaited, gathered around a holographic star map. Dozens of races were represented: insectoid Clixians, orange-furred Volusians, luminous jihadists. All turned to Derek with looks of respect and hope, their hushed murmurs hailing him as the legendary hero who bloodied the Barzan nose. Ghost raised a clawed hand and the chamber fell silent. His serpentine eyes bored into Derek's. "The Barzans once called my people the Saurians. Eons ago, our empire spanned the stars, until the Barzans came. They crushed our fleets, seized our worlds, enslaved our hatchlings. We've thirsted for vengeance ever since." The rebels made Derek a tantalizing offer. They had managed to pinpoint the location of a top-secret Barzan research station where the Empire's most advanced weaponry and technology were developed. Countless civilizations had been subjugated using breakthroughs from this facility. If Derek agreed to lead a joint human-rebel strike team to infiltrate the station and steal the Barzan technological secrets within, it could be the key to defeating the Barzans and freeing Earth and the galaxy from their iron grip. Over the next week, Derek trained relentlessly with the rebel operatives, learning their tactics, technology, and abilities. He marveled at the Clixians' electromagnetic decoys that could fool even the most advanced sensors. He sparred with lightning-fast Volusian swordmasters until his muscles burned. He mind-melded with the telepathic jihadists, mentally wargaming hundreds of infiltration scenarios in the blink of an eye. These beings, once strangers, became his comrades through their shared purpose, their unbreakable determination to overthrow their oppressors. In them, Derek found the missing piece to defeating the Barzans and saving Earth. As they made their final preparations on the eve of the mission, an urgent transmission arrived from the rebel intelligence network. Derek felt his blood freeze as Ghost translated the intercept. The Barzans knew the location of Earth and considered the human victory nothing but a fluke. They had rallied an armada 100 times the size of the previous invasion fleet, a force capable of scouring the surface of Earth down to the bedrock. The fleet was already en route and would arrive in a matter of days to finish what they started. Derek pounded a fist against the bulkhead, evaluating the situation with a veteran soldier's discerning eye. The Barzans would be on guard now, their research station triply fortified against intrusion. But Derek knew infiltrating the base and stealing the Barzans' technological secrets was Earth's only hope. Without those advances to even the playing field, humanity would be butchered like cattle by the invading hordes. "Looks like our timetable just got moved up," Derek said grimly, checking the charge on his hybrid pulse rifle. Around him, the rebels finished their own preparations with the lethal efficiency of those who had been fighting this war their entire lives. An insectoid clacked its mandibles. "For the Clixian swarms," it buzzed. "For the Volusian prides," came a chorus of growls. "For the jihadist radiance," thrummed a psychic chant. Ghost placed a taloned hand on Derek's shoulder, reptilian eyes blazing with dedication. "For all the children of the galaxy." Derek met his newfound comrade's gaze, thinking of his own homeworld. Every man, woman, and child counting on him to be their shield against the coming apocalypse. "For Earth." He slammed a fresh Barzan power cell into his rifle. "Let's go steal some game-changing tech." Derek and his team crept through the dim corridors of the Barzan research facility, weapons at the ready. The air thrummed with tension as they approached the inner sanctum. "This is it," Derek whispered. "Remember the plan, quick and quiet." They breached the final door. Alien tech lined the walls, bathing the room in an eerie glow. At the center stood an ornate pedestal housing what looked like fragments of an ancient weapon. As Derek reached for the artifacts, alarms blared. The sanctum doors burst open as Barzan troops poured in, energy weapons blazing. "Take cover!" Derek shouted, diving behind a console. The air filled with plasma bolts and the acrid smell of ozone. A Clixian rebel fell, mandibles clicking in death throes. Derek popped up, his hybrid rifle spitting death at the Barzan forces. "Push forward," he ordered. "We can't let them box us in." The rebels fought tooth and claw, slowly advancing. Derek's heart pounded as he saw more of his comrades fall. But they couldn't fail now, not when they were so close. "Ghost, cover me!" Derek sprinted for the pedestal as Ghost laid down suppressing fire. He snatched the artifacts, tucking them into his pack. "All right, we've got them! Fall back to the—" A massive hologram flickered to life, filling the chamber. Emperor Pixis sneered down at them, very much alive. "Did you really think it would be so easy, Derek Murphy?" Pixis taunted. "You've played right into my hands." Derek's blood ran cold as Pixis revealed the true nature of the artifacts, components of a galaxy-ending superweapon. Fresh Barzan troops swarmed in, overwhelming the battered rebel force. As energy cuffs snapped around his wrists, Derek locked eyes with Ghost. A silent vow passed between them. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Derek Murphy stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Alliance flagship, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. His reflection in the transparasteel window showed a man unchanged by time, eternally youthful, yet his eyes betrayed the weight of centuries. "Supreme Commander, we're approaching the Zeta-9 system," his aide reported. Derek nodded. "Prepare my shuttle for the diplomatic mission." As he boarded the sleek diplomatic vessel, Derek couldn't shake a gnawing sense of isolation. He'd watched generations of friends and comrades age and die while he remained frozen in time, a living relic of humanity's darkest hour. The shuttle dropped out of hyperspace near a blue-green world. Suddenly, proximity alarms blared. A swarm of unidentified ships materialized, weapons blazing. "Evasive maneuvers!" Derek shouted, but it was too late. A crackling energy field enveloped the shuttle, shutting down all systems. As consciousness faded, Derek glimpsed a massive warship emerging from the shadows of a nearby moon. He awoke strapped to a cold metal table, disoriented and weak. A figure stepped into view, tall, muscular, with unmistakable Barzan features. "Hello, Derek," the stranger sneered. "I'm Zoran. You killed my father." Derek's eyes widened in recognition. Pixis had a son? Zoran circled the table, voice dripping with malice. "I've spent decades building a new empire, uniting the outcasts and criminals you and your precious alliance cast aside. And now, I'll use your power to finish what my father started." Days blurred together as Derek endured agonizing experiments. Barzan scientists prodded and cut, desperate to unlock the secrets of his alien-derived abilities. Through it all, Derek's spirit remained unbroken. He vowed to escape and end Zoran's reign of terror. During a particularly brutal session, Derek felt his strength returning. As a scientist prepared another injection, Derek snapped his restraints. He grabbed the syringe and plunged it into his captor's neck. Alarms blared as Derek fought his way through the corridors. He came across a holding area filled with alien prisoners. With a few well-placed blows, he disabled the guards and freed the captives. "Follow me if you want to live," Derek shouted. The ragtag group surged forward, overwhelming Barzan soldiers through sheer numbers. They battled their way to the bridge. The doors hissed open, revealing Zoran. "I should have killed you when I had the chance," Zoran snarled. "You can try," Derek replied, fists clenched. The two titans clashed. Derek unleashed bursts of energy while Zoran countered with cybernetically enhanced strength. Consoles exploded around them as they traded earth-shattering blows. Derek finally gained the upper hand, driving Zoran to his knees. But the Barzan's hand shot out, slamming a button on his command chair. "If I can't have your power," Zoran spat, "no one will." A computerized voice announced the ship's imminent self-destruction. Derek realized he had only one desperate option. He closed his eyes, channeling every ounce of his alien energy. Derek's body began to glow, pulsing with otherworldly light. The energy built to a blinding crescendo. Zoran's eyes widened in terror as reality itself seemed to warp and twist. There was a deafening boom, then utter silence. Where Zoran's mighty flagship once stood, only empty space remained. Derek drifted in and out of consciousness, his powers utterly spent. Through blurred vision, he found himself aboard an unfamiliar vessel. Alien faces peered down at him with awe and concern. "Rest, Savior," a multi-limbed being said. "We'll get you home." As exhaustion claimed him once more, Derek's thoughts turned to Earth. He prayed they'd survived Zoran's wrath and that he'd have the strength for one final battle. The fate of humanity, of the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Derek's eyes fluttered open, his body aching from the cosmic clash with Zoran. He found himself on a cold metal slab, surrounded by alien beings with elongated limbs and iridescent skin. One of them placed a cool, gelatinous substance on his wounds. "Where am I?" Derek croaked, his throat dry. A Naxar with swirling patterns on its skin stepped forward. "You're aboard the Starweaver, last refuge of our people. I am Captain Zixnara. We found you drifting in space after your battle." Derek sat up, wincing. "Thank you for saving me, but I need to—" A piercing alarm cut him off. The ship's communication array crackled to life, filling the air with static and panicked voices. "This is Earth Defense Command. We're under heavy attack. Zoran's forces have breached our orbital defenses, requesting immediate assistance from any allied ships in range." Derek's blood ran cold. He locked eyes with Captain Zixnara. "We have to go. Now." "Our ship is no match for Zoran's armada," Zixnara warned. "Then we'll die trying," Derek growled, standing up despite the pain. "Earth is all we have left." Zixnara nodded, turning to the crew. "Plot a course for the Sol system, maximum speed." The Starweaver lurched into hyperspace, emerging moments later into chaos. Earth's orbit swarmed with Barzan warships, their weapons tearing through Alliance fighters without effort. The planet's surface glowed with the fires of orbital bombardment. "We're being targeted!" a Naxar crewman shouted as alarms blared. Derek's body began to glow with otherworldly energy. "Get me as close to the surface as you can." He sprinted for the airlock, the ship shuddering under enemy fire. As the doors hissed open, Derek took a deep breath and leaped into the void. His body ignited like a meteor, streaking through Earth's atmosphere. Derek crashed into the heart of New York City, cratering the asphalt. He rose from the smoking impact zone, taking in the devastation. Once proud skyscrapers lay toppled, streets choked with rubble and bodies. In the distance, a pocket of resistance fighters huddled behind a makeshift barricade, pinned down by Barzan shock troops. "Hold the line!" Derek roared, charging towards the battle. The human soldiers' eyes widened in disbelief as Derek Murphy, the legendary Galactic defender, joined their ranks. His fists glowed with cosmic energy as he tore through the Barzan lines. "It's him!" a grizzled sergeant shouted. "Murphy's alive!" Derek grabbed a fallen pulse rifle, laying down suppressing fire as he rallied the troops. "On me! We take back this city block by block!" The reinvigorated humans surged forward, pushing the Barzans back. As they fought their way through the ruined streets, more resistance cells joined them. Derek's return spread through comms channels and tight beam transmissions, a spark of hope igniting across the globe. Suddenly the sky darkened. A massive Barzan flagship descended through the clouds, dwarfing the surrounding buildings. Its hull split open, revealing a figure Derek had hoped never to see again. Zoran, clad in cybernetic battle armor, leaped from the ship. He landed with earth-shattering force, creating a shockwave that sent debris flying. "Murphy!" Zoran's amplified voice boomed across the battlefield. "I should have known you'd crawl back from the void. No matter, I'll finish what I started." Derek stepped forward, his body crackling with power. "It ends here, Zoran, one way or another." The two titans charged at each other as the battle raged around them. Derek unleashed blasts of cosmic energy, while Zoran countered with devastating strikes from his cybernetic limbs. The very air seemed to warp and distort from the intensity of their clash. As Derek and Zoran fought their apocalyptic duel, Earth's remaining forces rallied. Combat mechs emerged from hidden bunkers, their pilots pushing the machines beyond their limits. Battered Alliance fighters made suicide runs against Barzan capital ships. Derek ducked under Zoran's swing, retaliating with an uppercut that sent the Barzan leader flying into a half-collapsed building. Before Zoran could recover, Derek noticed a brilliant light in the sky. A searing beam of energy lanced down from orbit, striking Zoran's flagship. The massive vessel exploded in a spectacular fireball, raining debris across the battlefield. Derek's comm crackled to life. "This is Admiral Kira of the Naxar fleet. Cavalry's here, Murphy. Let's take these bastards down." A cheer went up from the human forces as Naxar warships decloaked in low orbit, joined by the remnants of the Galactic Alliance Armada. Their combined firepower rained down on Barzan's strongholds across the planet. Zoran emerged from the rubble, his armor sparking and damaged. His eyes blazed with hatred as he saw his forces crumbling. "You've ruined everything, Murphy. If I can't have this world, no one will." He pulled out a vial of sickly green liquid, hurling it at the ground. The container shattered, releasing a cloud of nanites that began consuming everything they touched. "No!" Derek shouted, realizing the threat. He focused every ounce of his power, creating a shimmering energy dome around the spreading virus. Zoran laughed maniacally. "It's too late. My virus will reduce this planet to a lifeless husk." Derek strained to maintain the barrier, feeling his strength ebbing away. "I won't let you win." As Derek fought to contain the virus, a shimmering portal opened nearby. Beings of pure energy stepped through. The same reality-bending aliens whose technology had once turned the tide against the Barzan Empire. One of them approached Derek, its voice resonating in his mind. "We sensed the fabric of reality twisting. You've done well, Derek Murphy, but your planet cannot be saved. We can evacuate your people, give humanity a chance to survive." Derek's heart sank as he realized the truth of the alien's words. He looked at the virus eating away at his failing shield, then at the battered but unbroken human survivors around him. "Do it," Derek said, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision. "Begin the evacuation. I'll hold the virus back as long as I can." As reality-bending ships appeared in the skies, beaming up millions of human refugees, Derek remained at ground zero. He gathered a small team of soldiers and scientists, setting up a makeshift lab in the ruins of a research facility. "We have hours at most," Derek told them, sweat beading on his brow as he maintained the energy shield. "Let's see if we can crack this thing before it's too late." As they worked feverishly to analyze the virus, Derek silently prayed for a miracle. The fate of humanity hung by a thread, with Earth itself on the brink of... The makeshift lab hummed with frantic energy as Derek and his team worked tirelessly. Sweat beaded on his brow as he maintained the energy shield, each passing minute draining his strength further. "Dr. Chen, any progress?" Derek called out, his voice strained. The virologist looked up from her microscope, dark circles under her eyes. "We've isolated a potential gene therapy, but producing enough to save everyone." She trailed off, shaking her head. Derek's calm crackled to life. "Murphy, this is Admiral Kira. We've evacuated millions, but there are billions more. How long can you hold that shield?" "Not long enough," Derek replied grimly. He turned to his team. "We need a new plan." They huddled around a holographic display of Earth, discussing options in hushed tones. Suddenly, Derek's eyes lit up. "What if we bring the fight to them? Lure Zoran's forces away from the evacuation zones?" Captain Sarah Reeves, a battle-hardened veteran, nodded. "A diversion. But how do we neutralize the virus?" Dr. Chen spoke up. "If we could create a localized subspace rift, the higher energy state might catalyze a chain reaction. We could aerosolize the gene therapy and release it directly into the rift." Derek's fists clenched. "I can open that rift, but it'll take everything I've got left." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Sarah placed a hand on Derek's shoulder. "You've given enough, sir. Let someone else—" "No," Derek cut her off. "This is my fight. Always has been." Hours later, Derek led a small strike team through the ruins of what was once Washington, D.C. They moved silently, dodging Barzan patrols until they reached their target, Zoran's command center. Derek activated his comm. "Zoran, you wanted me? Come and get me, you coward!" Alarms blared as Derek and his team fought their way back out, leaving destruction in their wake. They sprinted towards waiting transports as Barzan troops poured out of the fortress. Zoran's voice boomed across the battlefield. "Murphy, I'll crush you and your pathetic resistance." Derek allowed himself a grim smile as the transports lifted off. The bait was taken. The team touched down in the Mojave Desert, the last staging ground for humanity's stand. Derek walked to the edge of a cliff, looking out over the barren landscape. In the distance, dust clouds signaled the approach of Zoran's massive army. "This is it," Derek said softly. He turned to face the assembled troops, a ragtag mix of soldiers, civilians, and alien allies. "Whatever happens, remember, Earth will not fall today." A cheer went up as the two armies clashed, the air filled with the sounds of energy weapons and explosions. Derek waded into the fray, his fists glowing with cosmic energy as he tore through Barzan battle mechs. High above, a stealth ship carrying Dr. Chen and her team waited for the signal. Derek fought his way to the center of the battlefield, his body blazing like a star. With a primal roar, he thrust his hands skyward. Reality itself seemed to tear as a swirling vortex of energy opened above the battle. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Rift stable. Releasing the aerosol now." A silvery mist poured into the rift. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the rift pulsed, expelling waves of shimmering particles that washed over friend and foe alike. Barzan's soldiers screamed as their bodies began to twist and dissolve. Zoran himself staggered forward, his cybernetic enhancements falling away like dead leaves. What? What have you done? He gasped. Derek's body flickered, his life force ebbing. Ended it, he replied simply. The Barzan army crumbled, their physical forms breaking down into energy. Zoran let out an inhuman shriek as his consciousness was ripped from his body, drawn into the dissipating rift. As quickly as it began, it was over. The desert fell silent save for the wind. Derek collapsed to his knees, his troops rushing to his side. Did we win? He asked weakly. Sarah knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. We did, sir. Earth is safe. Derek nodded, a smile playing at his lips. Then it was worth it. His body began to glow, particles of light drifting away on the breeze. Listen, he said, his voice growing faint. This isn't the end. It's a new beginning for humanity. Take this chance. Build something greater than we ever dreamed. The assembled soldiers and civilians watched in awe as Derek's form dissolved into pure energy, rising into the star-filled sky. For a moment, the desert seemed to pulse with an otherworldly light. Then he was gone, leaving behind a legacy that would shape humanity's destiny among the stars. The twin suns of Kepler 186f cast a golden glow over New Avalon's gleaming spires. Commander Juliet Sierra stood at the viewport of the Confederation Command Center, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The cityscape below buzzed with activity, a testament to humanity's resilience. Sierra's hand brushed the worn patch on her uniform sleeve, the emblem of Earth's last stand. She'd been just a child when Zoran's forces tore through her home, but the memories remained seared into her mind. A chime interrupted her thoughts. Commander, we've detected anomalous readings in the outer system, reported Lieutenant Chen, his voice tense. Sierra strode to the holographic display. Show me. The image flickered to life, revealing a cluster of unidentified ships breaching the system's edge. Sierra's eyes narrowed. Raiding party, probably scavengers looking for easy pickings. She tapped her comm. This is Commander Sierra. Deploy Phoenix Squadron. Engage and neutralize the intruders. Within minutes, sleek warships erupted from hidden hangars across Kepler's surface. The vessels, products of years of reverse engineering alien tech, streaked toward the unsuspecting raiders. From her command post, Sarah watched the battle unfold. Phoenix Squadron struck with surgical precision, their advanced weaponry tearing through the attackers' shields seamlessly. Holy shit, Chen breathed. I've never seen firepower like that. Sierra allowed herself a small smile, and neither have they. The skirmish was over in moments. As the last enemy ship disintegrated, Sarah's satisfaction faded. She knew this was only the beginning. Prepare a full report, she ordered, and increase long-range scans. I want to know the instant anyone else comes sniffing around our system. Weeks passed. Sierra threw herself into Operation Phoenix, overseeing the construction of humanity's new armada. In the sprawling shipyards beneath Kepler's crimson seas, mammoth vessels took shape. Sierra inspected the latest addition to the fleet, her boots clanging on the hangar deck. Captain Sarah Reeves, one of the few survivors from Earth's last battle, fell into step beside her. She's a beauty, isn't she? Reeves said, gesturing to the gleaming warship. What are we calling her? Sierra ran her hand along the hull. The Avalon's vengeance, a reminder of what we lost and what we're fighting for. Alarms blared, shattering the moment. Sierra's comm crackled to life. Commander, multiple contacts, closing fast. It's an armada. Sierra sprinted to the command center, Reeves hot on her heels. The holo display showed a sea of red icons swarming toward Kepler. Arakan Dominion, Reeves breathed. Looks like they didn't appreciate our hospitality. Sierra's mind raced. Their fleet wasn't ready, not for this, but they'd planned for this moment. Initiate Operation Phoenix final phase, she ordered. All hands to battle stations. We're about to give these bastards a fight they'll never forget. As klaxons wailed across New Avalon, Sierra stared at the approaching enemy fleet. The true test of humanity's rebirth had begun. Commander Sarah's eyes flashed with fierce intensity as she gazed at the tactical display. The vast Arachon armada loomed at the edge of the Kepler system, a swarm of hostile red indicators flooding the holographic projections. "This is it," she breathed. "Initiate Operation Phoenix now." Alarms blared throughout New Avalon and across Kepler 186F. Civilians streamed into massive underground shelters, guided by grim-faced soldiers. Sierra watched from the command center as the evacuation unfolded with practiced efficiency. "All non-essential personnel clear," Lieutenant Chen reported. "Defense forces in position." Sierra nodded, her face hardened. "Deploy the warheads." Across Kepler's surface, carefully concealed silos rumbled open. Antimatter warheads, each containing enough destructive power to level a continent, streaked into the sky. The first detonation turned night to day. A blinding flash seared retinas and overloaded sensors. The shockwave flattened forests and vaporized lakes. More explosions followed in rapid succession, engulfing the planet in a maelstrom of unimaginable destruction. Aboard the lead Arachon vessel, Admiral Calvor stared in disbelief as Kepler 186F vanished behind a veil of churning radiation and toxic clouds. "Impossible," he sputtered. They've killed their own world." Before he could issue new orders, space itself seemed to ignite. Hidden fortresses, their stealth fields dropping away, unleashed their arsenal. Lances of coherent energy sliced through Arachon ships like paper. Hypervelocity slugs punched clean through multiple vessels, leaving clouds of debris in their wake. Calvor bellowed orders as his fleet disintegrated around him. "Launch fighters! Clear those weapon platforms!" Swarms of Arachon craft poured from their carriers, only to be met by waiting squadrons of human fighters. The void erupted in furious dogfights, punctuated by silent explosions. Aboard her flagship, the Avalon's Vengeance, Sarah barked orders to her strike teams. "Hit and run! Don't let them mass their forces!" Human warships darted between lumbering Arachon dreadnoughts, their advanced weaponry carving great rents in enemy hulls. A hellbore cannon pierced the command deck of an Arachon cruiser, the beam of concentrated plasma continuing through to gut 3 more ships behind it. On Kepler's ruined surface, the first Arachon landing craft touched down. As their hatches opened, disgorging waves of shock troops, they found themselves facing an army of gleaming metal. Robotic drones swarmed over the invaders, while automated turrets laid down punishing fields of fire. From fortified bunkers deep underground, human soldiers piloted massive war machines. These armored behemoths strode across the contaminated wasteland, their footsteps shaking the earth. Missiles streaked from their launchers, reducing Arachon dropships to flaming wreckage. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. The relentless grind of battle transformed Kepler into a nightmare realm of perpetual combat. Sierra's forces fought with savage desperation, extracting a terrible price for every inch of ground. In a hardened command post beneath the surface, Sierra pored over intelligence reports. Her eyes widened as she read the latest dispatch. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving transmissions from multiple sectors. It's incredible." Sierra's lips curved in a fierce smile as she absorbed the news. Across the stars, humanity was rising. Colony worlds, long thought lost, now flew the banner of rebellion. And they weren't alone. Other species, inspired by the tenacity of the human defenders, pledged their support to the cause. As fresh Arachon reinforcements poured into the system, Sierra knew the true test was only beginning. But for the first time since the fall of Earth, hope burned bright in her chest. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight, they would endure, and they would... The Kepler system blazed with the fires of war. Confederation warships darted between lumbering Arachon vessels, their advanced weaponry carving great rents in enemy hulls. Commander Juliet Serra stood at the helm of the Avalon's Vengeance, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Target their flagship," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "All batteries, fire at will." The Vengeance shuddered as its hellbore cannons unleashed streams of concentrated plasma. The beams lanced through space, punching through the Arachon dreadnought's shields and gutting it from stem to stern. As the enemy vessel split apart in a silent explosion, Sarah allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. But the battle was far from finished. For months, they had fought the Dominion invasion force to a standstill, slowly grinding them down through a combination of superior tactics and sheer human stubbornness. A young lieutenant rushed up to Sarah, datapad in hand. "Commander, we're receiving transmissions from across Dominion space. Human resistance cells are launching coordinated attacks on multiple fronts." Sarah scanned the report, her eyes widening. Former Barzan colony worlds, long thought subjugated, were rising up against their oppressors. The disorganized pockets of resistance were rapidly coalescing into a formidable alliance under the Confederation banner. "Send word to all our forces," Sarah said. "The tide is turning. Push the advantage." But even as hope surged through the human fleet, a new horror was unfolding. On the bridge of the Dominion command ship, Admiral Vexnar watched with cold satisfaction as specialized warheads streaked towards key human-held colonies. "Let them have their small victories," he hissed. "We'll see how well they fight when their own people turn against them." The psychotropic virus payload detonated in the atmospheres of a dozen worlds. Within hours, reports flooded in of civilian populations descending into madness. Men, women, and children attacked each other with mindless ferocity, their neural pathways overwritten by the insidious bioweapon. Derek Murphy, on a covert mission to one such world, barely escaped with his life. He staggered out of his stealth shuttle onto the deck of the Avalon's Vengeance, his face ashen. "Sarah!" he gasped, gripping her arm. "It's worse than we imagined. Entire cities. They're tearing themselves apart. We have to do something." In the days that followed, Sarah drove her scientific teams to the brink of exhaustion, searching desperately for a countermeasure. But as more and more human resistance groups fell to the virus, she knew they were running out of time. "We need the source," she said, addressing her war council. "The original viral data. Without it, we're fumbling in the dark." Murphy leaned forward, his eyes hard. "I'll go. Give me a team and we'll hit their bioweapons lab." Using stolen Dominion codes, Murphy and his ghost operatives slipped aboard the quarantine station undetected. They moved silently through sterile corridors, passing decontamination checkpoints and avoiding patrols of Dominion guards. As they neared the heart of the facility, they encountered the first of the test subjects. Grotesque, mutated humans lurched towards them, driven by an unnatural hunger. Murphy's team cut them down with precision fire, but the sound of combat had alerted the station's security. Alarms blared as Murphy fought his way to the central lab. His team dwindled, picked off by relentless Dominion forces. Finally, they reached the viral data core, a pulsing orb of malevolent energy. Just as Murphy downloaded the crucial data, the station rocked with a massive impact. Through the viewport, he saw a Dominion dreadnought looming ominously close. "Our ride's toast," his last surviving teammate reported grimly. Murphy's mind raced. There was only one way out now. He activated the station's self-destruct sequence, even as Dominion troops pounded on the sealed lab doors. "Fall back to the reactor chamber," he ordered. "We hold there until extraction arrives." For agonizing minutes, Murphy and his comrade fought wave after wave of Dominion soldiers. The hull began to buckle, radiation alarms screaming. Just when all seemed lost, a Confederation shuttle burst through the disintegrating station, hovering at the edge of a gaping breach. "Go!" Murphy shouted, shoving his teammate towards safety. He fired continuously, buying precious seconds as the shuttle's engines flared. With a final leap, Murphy hurled himself into the shuttle bay. The craft accelerated hard, barely outpacing the massive antimatter explosion that consumed the station. Back on the Avalon's Vengeance, Murphy transmitted the viral data to Sarah's science team. "We've got it," he said, his voice raw with exhaustion. "Now let's end this nightmare." As Confederation forces rallied, pushing back against the Dominion onslaught, shadowy figures deep within enemy territory set new plans in motion. In a hidden facility, Barzan scientists labored over schematics for a weapon of unimaginable power, one that had once brought their own empire to its knees. The harsh fluorescent lights of the Avalon's Vengeance's laboratory cast an eerie glow over the haggard faces of Commander Sierra's science team. For days, they had pored over the viral bioweapons data stolen from the Dominion, their eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. Dr. Eliza Chen, lead virologist, rubbed her temples as she stared at the holographic model floating before her. "We're close," she muttered. "So close to cracking this thing." Suddenly, a junior researcher burst into the lab, his face pale. "Commander on deck!" Sierra strode in, her uniform crisp despite the chaos of recent events. "Report, Dr. Chen. What have you found?" Chen's fingers danced across her datapad, bringing up a series of encrypted transmissions. "It's not just about the virus, Commander. We've uncovered something far worse." As Chen explained, Sierra's expression hardened. The Barzan Doomsday device, a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of wiping out entire star systems, and the Dominion was rebuilding it. "How sure are we about this?" Sierra asked, her voice tight. "The evidence is irrefutable," Chen replied. "Intercepted communications, supply chain analysis, energy readings from their shipyards. They're in the final stages of assembly." Sierra's mind raced. With their forces spread thin defending Kepler 186F, countless human worlds lay exposed. If the Dominion deployed this weapon. She activated her comlink. "All senior staff, report to the war room immediately." Minutes later, Sierra stood before her gathered officers, their faces grim as she laid out the situation. "We have no choice," she said, her voice firm. "We must strike now before that weapon becomes operational. Every ship, every soldier we can muster. This is our last chance." Derek Murphy, his face still bearing scars from his last mission, leaned forward. "My team is ready, Commander. Point us at the target." Sierra nodded, bringing up a holographic display of the Dominion's heavily fortified shipyards. "This is where they're building it, deep in the heart of their territory, protected by their most powerful fleets." She zoomed in on a massive structure at the center of the shipyard complex. "Our primary target. We hit this with everything we've got." As her officers studied the tactical overlay, Sierra felt the weight of the moment pressed down upon her. This was it, their last-ditch effort. "We launch in 6 hours," she said. "May whatever gods are left have mercy on us all." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Every available ship was prepped for combat, crews working frantically to squeeze every ounce of performance from their vessels. Soldiers and pilots said their goodbyes, knowing many would not return. From the bridge of the Avalon's Vengeance, Sierra watched as her armada assembled. A ragtag fleet of human warships bolstered by their alien allies. It was an impressive sight, but she knew it wouldn't be enough. "All ships prepare for jump," she ordered, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. Space itself seemed to stretch and tear as the fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives. In an instant, they were hurled across the galaxy, emerging in the midst of the Dominion's outer defense perimeter. Alarms blared as enemy ships reacted to their sudden appearance. Weapons fire lanced out, catching the vanguard of Sierra's fleet unprepared. "All ships engage at will!" Sierra shouted. "Push through their lines!" The void erupted in chaos as the two fleets collided. Human fighters darted between lumbering Dominion cruisers, their weapons blazing. Antimatter warheads detonated, vaporizing entire squadrons in silent flashes of destruction. On the tactical display, Sierra watched as entire sections of her fleet winked out of existence. But they were making progress, slowly but surely fighting their way towards the shipyards at the heart of the Dominion's defenses. "Commander," her sensor officer called out, "we're detecting a massive energy spike from the target structure." Sierra's blood ran cold as she realized the implications. "They're powering up the weapon. We're out of time." She opened a channel to Derek Murphy's strike team. "This is it, Derek. You have to get in there now. We'll create a breach in their defenses, but you'll only have seconds." "Understood, Commander," Murphy replied, his voice grim. "We won't let you down." Sierra took a deep breath, steeling herself for what came next. "All ships, this is Commander Sierra. Initiate Operation Spearhead. May our sacrifice be worth the cost. As one, the remaining ships of the human fleet surged forward in a final, desperate charge.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.